But yeah, let's just jump right into it, starting with our quarterback rankings. And for each of these positional groups, we're going to have consensus rankings. Some of us haven't watched other players, so they're not going to be really in our consensus, but they're going to be guys we'll talk about in honorable mentions. Just for example, talking about quarterbacks, I've watched 8 quarterbacks. Amal's also watched, I believe, 8 quarterbacks. But he does. I haven't watched Davis Mills. He has watched Davis Mills. So if you want to start with, I guess number ninth ranked Davis Mills for our consensus or whatever, just you can start with that. But if not, we could just jump into our consensus rankings and all.
Yeah. So Davis Mills was in my top eight. So obviously, like Arif said, I haven't looked at that many quarterbacks necessarily per se. So he is my eighth ranked quarterback. I mean, he's in my T. Actually, I have him higher, but 6 to 8 for me in terms of quarterbacks. I think they're all gonna go roughly in the same area. Davis Mills is a guy that is trending up. He had a great pro day, showed off a good arm. Davis Mills in high school was a top quarterback prospect. I think he was number one, I believe,
Mm-hmm. Five-star
in his
recruit.
class, 5-star recruit. Um, the thing is with him, he was in and out of Stanford's lineup. Uh, he did play pretty well last year. He had I believe he had what's it called? He had 15. He's completed 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. Not a bad, but yeah, the main thing I like here is his arm. He has a good size, 6'4". Uh, I think he's decently mobile. Uh, yeah, there's not really too much to say with him. Just he has promise. So I can say that he's just because of the arm talent that I saw from him. Uh, I put him in my top eight.
Yeah, fair enough. And then we can start off going with number one. We both have Trevor Lawrence at number one. And just to preface this, neither of us are like quarterback gurus. So if we're not like, going all that depth, it's because we're literally not like NFL scouts. But
Exactly. Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
like about Trevor Lawrence, he has the production. He's a winner. He has the size. He has the arm talent. He has the ability to make every single throw. And I also think, yeah, like he I guess he sort of peaked almost his freshman year when he won the championship, the college championship, and he didn't really win one ever after that. But I think he did get better as a quarterback when it comes to processing, understanding, realizing what his flaws are. And I do believe Trevor Lawrence. I think he is a good leader for what you had in Clemson, and I think that's something that can't be understated. The one thing that people are going to knock him for is his processing ability because it's not as high as, say, a Zach Wilson or Mac Jones, or he threw too many screens or whatever. And you know who else threw a lot of screens and all coming out of college and a lot of short stuff? Justin Herbert. That was one of the biggest knocks on Justin Herbert, that I think like 50% of his throws were screens or short, like bubbles and that type of stuff. And people are using that to knock him. And the thing is, I know Trevor Lawrence can make every single throw because we've seen him do it not only on his pro day, but in actual games on Saturdays. And yeah, I guess you could say his offense in Clemson was gimmicky and his accuracy was, kind of suspect sometimes when he was under pressure. But other than that, I think the only big flaw that I had with him is his pocket presence. I think that was sort of questionable at sometimes. Sometimes he's able to step up in the pocket, it all looks clean, but sometimes he just looked kind of wonky, and that led to some inaccuracies. But yeah, his offense was gimmicky, and he had a lot of short throws. But that, to me, isn't a reason to knock him out of number one spot. I think he's done the most. He's proved the most at the highest level of competition, and he's just a baller. So I think the Jaguars are going to enjoy having him.
Yeah. I think. So for me, I think Trevor Lawrence, top five prospects of all time. Uh, and he like you said, he's the prototypical type of quarterback prospect that you want to have. He has a long delivery, gets the ball in hand quickly. Uh, his accuracy incredible. Like you said, he can make every single throw. You saw that, like you said before, in the pro day and even in games. The only weakness that I saw is not even a weakness. It's just like an improvement that he needs to make. Pocket awareness. I guess you can see that. In the he can't even see many flaws in his game, considering he's only lost 3 games in 3 years, right? So The only flaws I see in his game is just that you saw that in Ohio. Decision making's incredible. Uh, his speed is pretty good for his size. I think I think it's pretty decent speed that he has there, and
Hmm.
he's got that type of Andrew Luck type of running capability where like if he wants to run, he will run, and I think that's what I like about Trevor Lawrence. Uh, Hands down the number one prospect in this draft, and hands down our number one quarterback prospect in this draft.
Yeah, and then we can move on to number 2 and 3. And I have Justin. Oh, you have Justin Fields at number 2, and then I have Zach Wilson at 2, and then we have them flipped for number 3. So why do you
Interesting.
have Justin Fields at number 2? Because I've flip flopped back and forth, and I think I've come to the realization that I think I like Zach Wilson a little bit more. But why do you have Wilson at Fields at 2 rather?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's always interesting here. You can go both ways on it. You can say Justin Fields is better. You can go Zach Wilson's better. Some reap. You can. It really does go both ways here. Uh, I think the way Fields, he's a better athlete, man. From what I'm seeing, I think he's more talented. The thing is, I can't even say that because Zach Wilson's also extremely talented too. Wilson's got incredible footwork, incredible accuracy. Uh, he kind of looks like I don't know how to say this. He kind of looks like um, do you know Johnny Manziel back in college? It
Hmm.
reminds me of his athleticism. I saw that, but yeah, I like Zach Wilson. Um, it is close for me, like I said before, but I just like Fields. He looks more of a dynamic player than Zach Wilson, and I'd rather have that than Zach Wilson. The problem with Zach Wilson, I guess, is really competition. I think that was probably the major thing here. The Zach Wilson played at BYU, didn't face many great competition, and then the only games that I got to watch, game that I watched was against Coastal Carolina, and we already knew what happened there. So
Hmm.
I think my main thing with there, and that's my same grade for even guys like Trey Lance, who we'll talk about. It's competition in that aspect, and you saw Justin Fields perform well against the best teams. The Big Ten was it was a bit underwhelming compared to previous years, but Justin Fields even last year, even the previous year, showed out against a very stacked Big Ten. And then this past year, even during the COVID season, he played very well, led his team to having an undefeated season until facing, of course, Alabama. So, uh, and his game against Clemson, I think that's what I think finally clicked in my mind that I think I have to keep Justin Fields at 2. And the other thing is, Arib, we I've been watching First Take a lot, and Stephen A has a very strong point here. After the college football playoff season ended and Alabama won, Justin Fields was consensus number 2. Everyone thought it was Lawrence Fields. And even there, people thought it's kind of close between those two, but everyone said Lawrence Fields as the top 2. Then Zach Wilson magically, after playing 0 games, just magically started rising up. And he went from like 4 to 3 to 2. And then even some people have him above Lawrence. So I, it's an interesting narrative put out there. Um, Justin Fields is falling down many people's boards. I know there's been many rumors going around this past week about Mac Jones going to the Niners and Trey Lance maybe going ahead of Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields was our number 2 quarterback for sure, entering into right after the college football playoff season ended, right? And how can he go from 2 to 5 after performing 2 excellent pro days from what I've heard? The first one was very good. I didn't think he missed a single ball. He looked incredible. And in the second one, he did with the Niners, I believe, and he looked great in that as well from what I've heard. So I think I think the narrative put out there that Justin Fields should be falling, I don't like that. I truly do believe though that now we see the second best quarterback in this draft, and that's who I believe that is, in Justin Fields. And Zach Wilson's very close behind at number 3.
Yeah, and for me, I think the one difference is I think Zach Wilson's probably just a better quarterback when it comes to the mental side of the ball, right? I think he has better eye discipline, knows how to, look safeties off. He's just better at that aspect of the game for me. And I also think Zach Wilson arguably has the best arm in this year's class. The only problem I had with him was durability, and he only has 1 year of true production. And he also, his offensive line was really good. And so he didn't have as many like pressured throws, right? But other than that, I really like what you get from Zach Wilson. And I see the argument people are saying that he's number one because he has, I think, the best arm in this year's class. The reason I have Fields below though is because of the mental ability. Because I think he might be a bit tad slower in that aspect and making good reads. And it's the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. I think Ohio State's offense did him no favors because the Ohio State offense was really much a one read offense. And that's what sort of held back Justin Fields. That being said, though, what I really like about Justin Fields is I do think he has the leadership skills. I do believe he has the intangibles, right? And I do think that he's coachable, all that stuff, accuracy, his running ability. I think he has gotten better at reading defenses, and he's only improved. So for me, it's honestly a 2A, 2B situation, and you can flip them. They're pretty interchangeable. So I'd go Zach Wilson just now because I think he's just a better quarterback right now. But I can understand with Justin Fields being higher because I could make the argument he could go higher because I do believe it's very close between them. Now, at number 4, I have Mac Jones. You also have Mac Jones. I think the thing about Mac Jones is he's probably a late one prospect for me, a late first round prospect. What I like about him, his processing, he has a good enough arm. He's pretty accurate. But the thing that holds him back is his improvisational skills. He's not the best athlete. And I do really believe he has a pretty high floor, but he doesn't have that high of a ceiling, which is why I have him at 4.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Mac Jones, great prospect. I mean, he is a pretty great prospect. He does nothing. He doesn't do a lot wrong. Honestly, he's pretty good at passing. He's got a pretty good arm. Accuracy's pretty much there. The decision making's also pretty much there. Like you said, the only weakness here, improvisation skills. Yeah, he's not as dynamic as the top 3, and even you can even say Trey Lance on that list. But I think, yeah, he reminds me of like a late first round prospect, which isn't a bad thing either. There have been late firsts that planned out. For example, 2 years ago, our MVP was Lamar Jackson, who was picking the first, saw that panned out. So, I mean, yeah, that's probably the similar grade that I would keep him as. It would shock me, of course. We already talked about this if the Niners were to pick Mac Jones in 3. We even made a post the other day about why it doesn't make any sense, and I think and that it's got to be a smoke screen on how Mac Jones could be picked at 3 by the Niners. It would literally be quite crazy to trade up 9 picks for a guy that in my opinion, in most people's opinion, is a late first round pick.
both have we both have Trey Lance at number 5, Amal. And it's interesting because I think most mock drafts, including our mock drafts, we have Trey Lance going above Mac Jones. And I think that's purely because you're out of draft for ceiling, right? And Trey Lance has the highest ceiling, or one of the highest ceilings in this class. He has running ability. He has a good enough arm. His mobility is really nice. The only problems with him is I think he's definitely a project player. I think he's a project player, the same type of project player that Jordan Love was coming out of wherever he came out of last year, like Indiana, Illinois, wherever. I forget where Jordan Love was drafted from,
No,
but
I think he came from Nevada, I believe. No.
I have no clue, bro. That tells you all you need to know about Jordan Love. He's very not talked about. Trey Lance, though. The
Utah
thing that
State. Oh God, yeah,
Oh,
Utah State.
Utah State. We weren't even close.
Yeah.
Damn. But anyway, Trey Lance, right? He's raw. Decision making. His decision making, Amal, what it came down to for me is whether or not he runs the ball, right? With his really nice running game in NDSU. They're a running game powerhouse like Alabama is in the SEC. And it was either run the ball, which is going to be a good play, or throw to somebody who's open by like 5 yards. And you're not going to have guys who are open by like 5
Exactly.
yards in the NFL. Like by 5 yards, I mean like 5 yards in every single direction. Like there would be defenders nowhere near players sometimes. Like, yeah, he has a great touchdown to interception ratio. Doesn't really fumble that much, right? He does have the best running ability in this year's class. I think he's better than Justin Fields in that regard, right? Because he's more physical, pretty good enough speed. But the thing that holds him back is his ability or lack of ability to process defenses. And also he does have accuracy issues. I do believe his mechanics need some cleaning up. And yeah, at some points he's really accurate. Sometimes his throws are like out of bounds by like 5 yards. And you're like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I agree with your analysis with Trey Lance. I think he's a very raw prospect, but his potential is high. His potential is high. We haven't seen a lot from him either. That's my problem here. I think he missed a couple throws in his pro day as well. Uh, yeah, there's just not enough to see on Trey Lance for him to be this high, and he is only my top five because of him as a prospect. He's dynamic, he's mobile, but I just don't know if he's just so young in the game. I can say that he's just young. In the game. He played one game this year, and that one game he looked like he would be an undrafted prospect. He didn't look good, so I can't say immediately off of not seeing him play at a high level at North Dakota State. Playing at a high level at North Dakota State is not hard. I can definitely say that when you're looking at film, it's not the competition is not at a high level. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I can only say he's this high because of him as a raw prospect. And
Mm-hmm.
if it works out, though, he can definitely be in the top three, top two of this draft. Um, his potential, he's so unknown, and this is probably the most unknown prospect in the past like 10,
Mm-hmm.
15 years, Arib, because there's no film, there's not too much
More
film on
unknown
him
than
either.
Josh Allen too, I'd say. Um,
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Josh Allen played a year. Like we don't be like he played multiple. Like we don't have that much film on Trey Lance, especially recent film. That's what matters. So, um, Lord knows, honestly. And pro day throws.
yeah.
I mean, he missed a couple. So, I mean, I can say it safely that he's a top five prospect.
Okay, interesting. Number 6, our consensus. Kyle Trask. You have him at 6. I have him at 8. Um, what I like about Kyle Trask is I do think he has something when you watch him play. He definitely has some arm talent, accuracy, has some ability to read coverages, but I think he could definitely get way better in that regard. The thing that really holds him back for me is like we say Mac Jones might not be the best athlete. Like Kyle Trask is the definition of like I don't even know, man. This guy is unathletic. Like he can't run whatsoever. And the thing is, they'd like Florida would use him on like quarterback and runs. It'd always go for like a yard or two, and they'll just keep doing it over and over again. I'm like, dude, who are these coaches? What the hell are you seeing? That you're like running a QB read with Kyle Trask is a good decision. So that's probably why I have him ranked at number 8, just because his mobility for me is probably what'll hold him back from being a true NFL starter. I think he's a round three target for me, and I like him as like a spot starter to like a career backup.
Yeah, so for me, Kyle Trask could be a starter in this league. I don't. You're kind of low on him compared to me. The reason I could see him fitting well with the team like the Saints, the Bucks. He played well, Reed. He had a great 2020 season. Yeah, the dude's not the most mobile dude, but I think his pocket passing ability is like it's in that starting caliber role, right? I'm not wrong to say that. So, and the competition he played against was pretty good. He played in the SEC. He played well in the games against Alabama. I'd take him as a pocket passer definitely over guys like Justin Fields, um, and I'll take him over Trey Lance in that regard as well. Mac Jones, I'll probably even take him there in that regard as well. But I think the thing here is uh, athleticism is the only thing that's holding him back, and that's the only reason I have him at 6. Um, yeah, I think the only thing that you need to see is look at his performance against Alabama in the SEC championship game. He didn't get the job done, but the way he performed in that game, I think it just showed to me that he definitely has NFL starting caliber capability. I expect him to go late day 1 to early day 2. I definitely think he'll go in the first 2 rounds. I'd be shocked if he fell past that.
Okay. And then my number 6 guy, he's our consensus number 7, Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. What I like about him, and he was your sleeper earlier on, probably like a month ago when we did our offensive and defensive sleepers episode. What I like about Kellen Mond is I think he has the arm talent. He has a great arm talent, great strength, knows how to zip in some balls, great deep accuracy. He has good mobility as well. His throwing form is a bit wonky, but like whatever. If it gets the job done for him, it gets the job done for him. The flaws with him though are again inconsistencies. And he honestly like he did improve throughout his 4 years at college at A&M, but he didn't really improve all that much. I feel like he improved, but it wasn't that big of an improvement. Um, that being said, though, I think his arm talent warrants definitely warrants a day 2 selection for me.
Yeah, just based off arm talent, I agree. Day two selection for me makes a lot of sense here. Uh, Probably, and I already described Kellen Mond to you guys. I put him as a sleep pick for me. Yeah, probably late second, early third. But I mean, honestly, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, like I said before, like we mentioned before, Kyle Trask, I have them all roughly in the same boat in terms of as a prospect as well. So, I think it's definitely fair to be in the same range as those guys. And I would not mind if Kellen Mond even were to go late day 1 because it's arm talent, man. The arm talent's definitely there.
Yeah, and finally the last guy, he wasn't on your rankings, but it's a guy I know that we both watched, Jamie Newman out of Wake Forest, set out this year. For me, he's again another day 2 guy. And I can honestly say all 9 of the guys. I'm not going to speak for Davis Mills. All 8 of the guys that we've talked about, I think, can be legitimate NFL players. And other than maybe Kyle Trask, I think they can all be like pretty high level starters if they go to the right spots and in the right organizations. What I like about Jamie Newman, again, he has the arm talent. He definitely has an NFL arm. And on top of that, he has good mobility as well. What I don't like about him is, again, his decision making. He doesn't really understand coverages all that well. I really like his eye usage. I think he does have the ability to, look off safeties and all that. So I think there's definitely something in Jamie Newman if you wanted to go with a day 2 pick. Maybe a team like the Chicago Bears. Same thing with Kellen Mond, like Chicago Bears, Pittsburgh Steelers, those type of teams, I think. Maybe even like the Tampa Bay Bucks, because they know that Tom Brady. Actually, I can't say that. You never know if Tom Brady's going to retire or not, because he probably never will. But those are teams that I think are definitely worth looking at Jamie Newman for.